Balance takes effort, plain and simple. It's something you build one choice at a time. And for many women in medicine, the blueprint they were handed never included room for school drop-offs and sick days or space to breathe. Today I'm talking with Dr. Sarah Slater, a pediatric nurse practitioner and founder of Balanced Kids. She has reimagined her career so she can show up fully for her patients and her family. We discuss the real possibility of building a practice around your values and the small shifts and decisions that will make a big difference. This is what a true work-life balance for Dr. Moms can look like, without burning out or giving up on what you love. If you've been craving more breathing room in your work and your life, this one's for you. Find the full transcript and bonus resources for physician moms at inspiredmommds.com/75. You're listening to the Inspired Mom MDs podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Cindy Van Prague. I help physician moms take back control of their time and energy so they can prioritize what matters most and thrive at work and at home. In each episode, I bring you honest conversations, inspiring stories, and practical strategies, including interviews with incredible women who are redefining success on their own terms. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inspire Mom MD's podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Cindy Van Prague, and I have a very special guest today. And I'm going to read a quick bio to introduce her before I give her the floor. Today, I am joined by Dr. Sarah Slater. She's a pediatric nurse practitioner, a mom of two, a founder of Balanced Kids, which is a practice that helps families thrive through integrative and whole person care. And she has experience in both top academic hospitals and small community settings. So Sarah brings a rich perspective to how we support not just children, but also whole families, and in ways that feel personalized and integrative and rooted in connection. I'm so excited to talk to her about what inspired her practice shift into building her own private practice, and what the transition was really like, and how she's finding a sense of balance today, both as a healthcare provider and a mom. Welcome, Dr. Slater.
Thank you. I'm excited to be talking today.
Yes. And my first question is just a really lighthearted icebreaker question, and it's this. If your kids, and they're young, you can tell us the ages too. If they were in charge of dinner every night, what would you be eating on repeat?
Yeah. So my kids are 5. My son, Odin, he's 5, very picky, and he loves his salami sandwiches and maybe tater tots. And my daughter, Rhea, is 3, and she just loves tater tots dipped in ranch. So I would probably say just tater tots. And then, of course, anything sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll grow out of that. My kids still like tater tots and they're 16 and 18. So
yeah,
you might be in for a lifelong of tater tots.
Yeah. I mean, I like them too, but they weren't a staple in my diet until my kids made it.
Right. Okay. So let's turn to more of your career and the balance that you've created for yourself. And every meaningful shift in someone's career or life path has a backstory. And there's often this moment where that kind of changes things for you. And so let's talk about the beginning of what maybe your shift was. Can you go back a little bit and share first what inspired you to pursue pediatrics, and how did your passion for pediatrics evolve, and take it from there?
I have always worked in pediatrics. And when I was in nursing school, you kind of get to the point where you're trying to figure out what you want your first job to be. Like, do you want labor and delivery or pediatrics or med surge? And I struggled with it for a while, but I was reflecting on the type of work I had done up until that point, and I realized every single job I had to do with children, whether I was teaching them how to swim, babysitting, or I at one point worked as a paraprofessional basically for special needs kids. And when I made that connection, it made me feel very confident that, hey, I enjoy working with kids. And so that was the avenue I pursued. And I've been in pediatrics ever since. And I'm grateful.
Now, you've worked in many different settings. I mentioned a bit ago in academic hospitals and small settings. What patterns did you start noticing in those systems that made you feel that something was kind of missing?
Yeah, so it's funny because it doesn't matter what type of setting you're in, whether it's large, small, academic, or not. And what I found is that across the boards, like health visits are rushed, providers are overwhelmed and burnt out. And I think both sides, both the provider and the family, is left feeling with the disconnect. It doesn't matter if you're getting good health care or not, that disconnect of personalized care is missing. And, I think healthcare is personal. It's extremely personal. We're talking about some of the most intimate details of our lives just willy-nilly with our provider. Like, let's make it feel personal too. And so I think that is what I realized what was missing and what I want to be different about my practice, Balanced Kids, is I want to bring that personalized healthcare back to the patient's family and to the provider as well. Just make it feel holistic.
That's so interesting that you mentioned that patients may be getting the utmost perfect care, but the perception is that they're not because that connection is missing.
Yeah.
And so the connection is the missing piece so that people realize they are getting the quality care.
Yeah, because I've definitely worked in, as we mentioned, I worked in both settings. I worked in a very small community hospital that was like a 10-bed pediatric unit. And I could say sometimes the care there was not the best. But if you can provide that personal connection, that can help make it feel a little better for the family. Or like even in, I hope I'm saying this the right way too, even in larger institutions where they may be world renowned for their healthcare, you might be getting the absolute best prescriptions, the best interventions, whether it's preventative or primary treatments. But that doesn't mean that feeling of personalized care is there, and that impacts satisfaction and whether or not you're going to stay with that provider in the long term.
That's true. And those long-term connections are so valuable.
Yeah. They are.
What was the final nudge that made you knew what the problem was, you knew what was missing and what you could add? What was it? What was that pivot point that made you pick your own practice?
Ultimately, I think the final nudge was a crossroads of having a strong passion for integrative pediatric care, intersecting with frustration with the system, frustration with feeling overbooked or rushed or not having time, or even being met like, I worked in pediatric oncology and I loved providing that integrative side because that allows families to feel empowered. It's something that they often get to take the lead on. And, that area of care, I would say by most other healthcare professionals, is not always warmly welcomed. And it's not that they don't want to include it or anything like that. When I say not warmly welcomed, I think that there's less supportive evidence for it, or maybe you have to go researching for it a lot more. And our healthcare systems are simply not built to allow for the inclusion of that type of care. And so I eventually got to the point where I really have become passionate about providing this care. I completed the iHelp program through Andrew Wild and really learned how integrative care can be so essential and so empowering for families. And it just got to a point where I was like, I can choose. I'm early in my career. I can choose if I want to remain in a healthcare system where I am serving the system, or if I want to build my own practice and create the type of practice that deeply aligns with my values and that I know will bring true connection with other families and can benefit them holistically too. And so I just finally, came to that intersection and decided I'm young in my career. I'm passionate. I'm going to go for it. If it doesn't work out, I can go back to the healthcare system.
True. There's always a plan B or C. And so your choice was to follow your values.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. And, I was also like, it is hard as a mom and a healthcare provider, like just life schedules are difficult to manage. Getting time off can be difficult to manage. And with my son entering kindergarten and having this whole shift to our schedule, before deciding to do this, I've been thinking about this for over a year in advance. Like I was just kind of feeling anxious about like, I want to be there to pick up my son from kindergarten and I want to be able to drop him off if I want to. And, his school hours are about around 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's not conducive to most people's work schedules. So that was also something that really motivated me, was so that I can be present for my kids and be there for them. It might mean that I'm working at other less conventional times, but it means that I get to be there for my family.
And that's part of what your balance is now, which I'm definitely going to circle back to in a few minutes, which is what so many women are seeking right now, is being able to have the time to take the breath and to spend time with their children and to have control over their schedule.
Absolutely.
I want to talk quickly about your approach with your business with Balanced Kids. So many families feel like they're stuck in this checklist system of pediatric care, right? I go for this visit and I get these vaccinations done. And you've chosen to do things a little bit differently. And I'd like to touch on that quickly. So what kinds of integrative tools that you maybe learned from the Andrew Weil Center or other places do you integrate or weave into your care?
So I'm excited you asked me this question because some people might think I'm a little woo-woo. But in reality, it's science. So I love to teach people about the endocannabinoid system. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I think you likely are, which I'll refer to this as the ECS. And if there's any listeners who don't know what it is, it's basically a biological complex system in our body, and it helps regulate every other system in our body, right? If we're struggling with sleep or mood, oftentimes the ECS is considered to be a root cause of a lot of the issues that impact your sleep and mood. And while I love medicine, medicine is fantastic, it's great, but we can help regulate these types of systems, or we can help regulate your endocannabinoid system through integrative measures like focusing on your spirituality, breath work, diet, nutrition, healing relationships, things like that. And I think a lot of the techniques that we use in healthcare that we try to teach people to help them implement a healthier life, whether or not you realize it, it comes back to supporting your endocannabinoid system. And I just take an approach that brings much more awareness to this while also allowing and believing in medicine and its value as well. When I talk about the endocannabinoid system, people are always like, endocanna what? It just sounds kind of a little out there, but it was discovered in the 90s or the late 80s. There's factual evidence behind it. So I just love highlighting that for people.
And I do want to add about the integrative approach to healthcare, because my background, which listeners may or may not be aware, is in integrative medicine also. I did a fellowship at the Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine. And the nice thing about that training, that I know you also received his training, is that it's evidence-based. And it's a very nice balance of Eastern and Western medicine. And I understand when you say I may sound woo-woo because it's a little bit different, but it's evidence-based. And I think you might agree with me that things that are based in science, even though it wasn't done in the United States of America or in Europe, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
It's still science.
It's still science. And so I'm just throwing in some support for the integrative side of things because it sounds woo-woo, but there are papers and papers that support what you are saying right now.
Yeah. And I even think like personal experience, like I used to really struggle with breath work and I still do, but those are interventions that I often use when I'm just trying, if I'm feeling really stressed and trying to calm myself down, or if I can't sleep at night because my brain won't stop moving. And I started implementing that and also taking many courses that, when we get together in person, like they have you do it. And I think with more practice, I started to realize I was like, this really is helping my anxiety, or this really is helping me just calm my brain so I can fall back to sleep. And now it's been something that I routinely use. So I could say I was someone who was like, it doesn't help that much. But now that I've been through it, I've come out on the other side and I can say it does. It definitely has its place in healthcare.
And you as a practitioner have learned how to take care of yourself by learning these techniques.
I do my best.
Yes. Well, it's a practice. I try to incorporate the same things in my life, the breath work and meditation and things that I used to think were just kind of weird. But no, they actually work if you just give them a try. It takes small amounts of time to give it a try too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now that you've started your own practice, I'm curious, what has surprised you about it? Tell me something that's really exciting that you found rewarding.
What I found exciting and rewarding was I had no idea how many other people are out there that can support you. There are so many resources. Like when it came to setting up my own electronic medical record system, right? Completely overwhelmed by that. Like, how am I going to afford that and everything? But once I started looking, like, there's a lot of systems out there and they're at an affordable price point, and they have a whole team of people behind them to help you upload your intake forms and everything. And so having always worked in healthcare systems prior to this, that was just an avenue that I didn't know existed. And there's a lot of people and support out there who want to help you and your new business. I've always heard and been aware of chambers of commerce, but it wasn't until and trying to create my own business that I really was like, someone's like, you should really reach out to them. And it's just opened a very large platform of different ways to network, to get support, while also giving support to the community as well. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I had been excited about learning was like, there's a lot of avenues for support out there. So if you just look for them, you will find them.
Got it. And in that line of thinking, what would you say to the mom who is where you were in that you said you had a year of frustration before you left your previous employment?
Yeah.
What would you say to that woman who's listening, who's like, I just want to strike out on my own, but it seems so overwhelming. And some of what you're saying is very encouraging. There's support out there. There's the Chamber of Commerce. What would you say to her to encourage her to make that leap if she's ready?
Yeah. I would say, if I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing extra special about me. And I felt that same way before too. And ultimately, I think it's just waking up every day and maybe trying to do one more task. Some days are going to be much more, what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to complete many more things in your day. Some days and others, you might not do anything because you just feel stuck. But at least you're probably thinking about what your next steps are going to be. So I think just put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. And if you do that consistently over time, you will build something. And I think you'll amaze yourself.
Yeah, I so agree with that advice. Now I'm coming back to the balance part of your life now. And your practice is named Balanced Kids. So it's making me wonder, what is balance to you now as a mom and a practitioner? What's that look like?
I think balance is something we're all always searching for, but ultimately for me, before I even came up with the name of my business, I was trying to think of like, what am I going to name it? And then I realized the word I kept repeating over and over was balance. I kept telling friends and family, like, I just want more balance. I want to be able to show up for my kids, but I still want my career. I want to be available for my husband. work is just so overwhelming and I don't have enough balance and I want to be able to work out. And then I just realized the balance, that's a great name because I want to bring not only balance to myself, but in healthcare, I know how it is to try to get your kid in for a sick visit. It can be so hard. And if I want to see my primary care provider, it might take a couple days before my son can get in with that person. And so I wanted to create my healthcare system through Balanced Kids in a way that supports other families. And so that's why I developed the concierge style. So we come to you. That way we fit into your busy day, not expecting you to fit time in your schedule to come to a clinic. And also, like for children who have more complex needs, my kids, I don't have to experience that, right? My kids are normal, per se, kids. And I can only imagine how difficult it could be for families who have more complex needs and how hard it might be to get out of the house or break your child's usual routine. And so I wanted to help serve that need and bring that balance to families as well.
So what does that look like? Are these telehealth visits or are you physically going to homes?
Physically going. So I do like routine well child checks, which I believe those need to be in person. So those are in person in your home. And I do physicals, which need to be in person as well. But I also try to create flexibility with that. So if, let's say, multiple kids or your kid is on a sports team and nearly everyone needs their updated physicals, I will come to, I don't know, your kid's sporting event, or if I can coordinate something with school, and that way we can get a lot of these physicals done at once and for reduced cost. Sick visits can be in person or virtual, whatever most families are comfortable with. If you want me to come to you, I will. And if you want to keep it virtual, I will. And just try to be flexible for what the family's needs are.
Oh, that is such an incredible model. And I imagine so helpful for families that they may have many kids. And it's really hard to load up a car of kids. And, oh my gosh, I only have 2 kids and it was a struggle for me to get out of the house. So like you're saying, my heart goes out to all those moms that are handling so much more than I ever did.
Yeah.
And so you are providing that gap. You are providing just such a valuable service to those moms. And at the same time, yes, and at the same time, you're created balance in your own life. And so it just seems like a win-win.
Yeah.
Before we close, I want to leave listeners with something simple that they can take with them. What's one small, powerful thing you hope that every family remembers when it comes to caring for their kids?
I think we've heard this before, but that is that you are the expert in your child and your gut is more often than not correct. So lead with that and advocate with that and find a provider who will use that as a reason to really go through everything and find what you are needing to serve your child the best.
Yeah. Follow your gut.
Yeah. I really believe in the gut. The gut brain connection, that's everything.
And keep looking for a practitioner that will listen to you. Very wise advice.
Oh, thank you.
How can listeners find you if they want to reach out and learn more about you?
Yes, I am on Instagram and I live in Minnesota. So my handles for both Instagram and Facebook, it's Balanced Kids MN. And then I have my website, balancedkidsmn.com, or people can email me, sarah@balancedkidsmn.com.
Perfect. And I will list those in the footer.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate you being here and your wisdom and your perspective and the service you're providing families and kids, not just kids, but their whole families. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to Inspired Mom MDs. If this episode resonates with you, please share with a friend who may benefit too. And I humbly ask you to please leave a review so other doctor moms can find me too. And just a quick reminder, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and isn't a substitute for medical advice or care. I'm a board-certified physician, but this content isn't connected to my clinical practice and no doctor-patient relationship is formed here. Please always talk to your own health professional about any mental or physical health concerns. Please see inspiredmommds.com for full disclaimer.